Everything's under control. Sorry, folks.
All right. Well, we got some breaking news actually just a couple of hours ago from Star Wars Celebration. That is fantastic news. Now, I want to say one thing before we get started on this topic. The park stuff, in my opinion, lately has been such a downer. It really has. Between the Reedy Creek and the Anaheim FBI probe and all that stuff, I'm like, man, this is such a downer. The park stuff, they can't catch a break. But after yesterday, I was watching Star Wars Celebration. I watched Kenobi, which was like freaking bonkers, insane good. I loved it. It was so refreshing just to have like fun, exciting stuff happening in that Disney world, so to speak, in that Disney realm.
The Disney Wish doing the shape of Mickey in the Caribbean was pretty cool.
That was very cool too. That was very cool. But it was just refreshing. It really was to see some positive news out there, and it was really nice to see that. And to kind of piggyback, today at Celebration, they announced that Mando and Grogu will be making appearances at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, and Boba Fett and Fennic will also be in the land. So it appears that Disney has been listening to fans, and maybe they watch our show. I don't know. But we've talked about this many times. Get rid of the stupid timeline and start putting more Star Wars in the Star Wars land. And that looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. Dre?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to just say, and Boba Fett and Fennec are in Galaxy's Edge starting tomorrow at the time of this recording, May 28th.
Hey.
Wow.
That's
and
fast.
Also, too, we're getting not only that, but new Star Tours destinations as well to incorporate even more of the good stuff that has been coming out of Disney Plus. Listen, I can't tell you how over the moon I am about this. We have been talking about the show for years. Look, and this goes beyond. I mean, even when Chapek, took the role and attached D'Amaro to the head of Parks and Resorts, we had heard conversations about, can we get the Mando characters into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? And apparently there was a whole movement in order to make that happen. And from what I understand, around the time that season 2 of The Mandalorian ended, those talks, those plans ended, which was just kind of like weird. Like, why would this happen? Maybe it was to coincide with the fact that Star Wars, Galactic Star Cruiser was coming out, and maybe that had something to do with it. But it was just kind of weird how it just, all this momentum that was driving towards this had ended, and there were ambitious plans. Like Gina Carano's character, for example, was going to be the mayor of the town of Black Spire and so forth. It was going to be kind of cool, but to see that those weren't just hot air, that was what they wanted to do, and that's where they're going with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I cannot tell you how exciting it is. I mean, these characters are super hot right now. Apparently, the display that they have at Star Wars Celebration, have we seen this with featuring Mando and some of the characters from Mandalorian? Like a big old banthas there, and you have Mando in the ships, in the various ships there. It's this whole big display. I mean, everybody went bonkers over it because it's like, we haven't seen that in anywhere, right. And the parks should be the place where we see that. Well, now they will be.
And that's where I have high hopes, because with Star Wars Celebration, in my mind, I really wasn't anticipating on hearing anything that was going to be incorporated in the parks other than, like, as far as with Disney, like with Disney Plus and the streaming and possibly theatrical releases. But as far as the parks goes, I really had no expectations whatsoever. And they just kind of went out. And again, I'm going to say it again. Back to the expo, it gives me high hopes as what's going to be announced for the expo, because it's showcasing everything of Disney. So if they're going to announce something like this at Star Wars Celebration, what is that going to hold for the expo? And for everyone listening, I went down in the comments below of how many times that Alia and I have used the word expo. I want you guys to count.
It's our go-to. Expo.
Definitely give us the final count on that one.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. One of the big things that Chapek got a lot of shit for was cutting a lot of the characters and the entertainment when Galaxy's Edge opened. Let's see if fans come around and give the man some credit now that we're getting some of that inserted into the land. Because I've heard the buck stops here with Chapek, so we'll see.
I have heard the buck stops here, and look, I mean, even going back to as far as when Chapek was actually announced as CEO, they were having conversations about, can we fulfill some of the promises that we had stated with what was going to come with Galaxy's Edge in the form of these new characters and so forth. I mean, and who knows whether that was Josh D'Amaro as part of that. I think it was more Chapek part of that. Like, hey, look, we want more synergy. We want more of a direct connection between our Disney Plus products and the parks.
Right.
You got to give Chapek credit. This is happening under his watch, and this is something that the fans, everybody, not just Star Wars fans, by the way, but theme park fans have been wanting for a long, long time.
And you would think after season 1 of The Mandalorian, of how it blew up, and especially with Grogu merch of everything, he's on T-shirts, hats, dolls, action figures. It's like, why would you not capitalize on that character? Just him alone in the parks is a moneymaker.
Well, and I gotta say, the first 2 episodes of Kenobi, no spoilers or anything, but there's a lot of cool things in that show so far that they should incorporate it into Galaxy's Edge as well. And that's the beauty of this move with Mando and Grogu and Boba Fett, is that it opens the door now going forward. Once they finish Kenobi, maybe they can start throwing in some of the new droids or creatures or whatever from this show in the land. Now you can start to do the synergy machine that has been so successful for Avengers Camp. Brilliant move. Should have been done a long time ago.
#Expo.
Is there a
Expo will have
chance?
answers.
Do you think, guys, there's a chance to have, I don't know, maybe Ahsoka or Luke Skywalker make it into the land, because this is kind of part of the Mandoverse now? Is it possible?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think anything's on the table at this point. I think they're gonna go. They're going to probably go like the same route that Avengers Campus is going. Look, they already have. The announcement today was for Boba Fett and Fennec, and Mando and Grogu. These are both very successful Disney Plus shows. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kenobi characters in the land in the next few weeks, maybe in a month, whenever. I wouldn't be surprised. We have an Ahsoka show coming out in 2023. That's definitely on the table. They're going to want to promote that. Absolutely.
And even if we don't get it right away, this is actually a good starting point that they're actually doing something with Galaxy's Edge. And it's like they're finally, taking those vessels and they're pumping that heart into that land.
Apparently they're, Skeleton Crew, right? The new show that was announced at Star Wars Celebration is going to be taking place during the Mandoverse. So it's like, can we get some of that integration in there on, to George's and OG's point right here, not so dissimilarly to how they integrate characters from, Marvel. When those shows make their debut, we see characters. Can this allow for something like that? I think this is a big, big win here, because we've all kind of understood for a long, long time that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is a good base, right? It's a great land, just from an aesthetic and design standpoint, but it just, like George has said so many times on the show, it's just missed that heartbeat, right? And I didn't need that much to make it work. I think this is a big, big step in making it work finally.
And if they want to make an even bigger step, give me the Banthas. I want the Banthas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get the Banthas in there. That'd be cool.
Let's get the Banthas. Alia, what do you think about this move?
It's exciting, a very good move, and I do wonder if it being announced at Star Wars Celebration, because I do think initially it was Lucasfilm that was the barrier to do this, because I don't think Imagineers really care, but the fact that it was announced at Star Wars Celebration, I think it shows that perhaps the Imagineers, D'Amaro, Chapek, convinced Lucasfilm this is the way you need to go. You need to go in this direction.
That's a good point, Alia, that you make, that maybe it was a directive from above. Yeah, hey, look, Lucasfilm, we know you kind of want to stick to the continuity, the timeline, but this is the direction we're going to go, basically. I mean, if D'Amaro and Chapes wants to do it, and it's going to happen, and maybe it was that directive from above, and they just kind of overrode what the studio wanted, or maybe it was a mutual thing. Maybe right. Lucasfilm feels like this is the right direction. Who knows? But it's interesting.
Maybe they saw volunteer feedback from people. Just where's Grogu? Where's Din? And then maybe survey feedback. So things like that too.
That survey feedback had to be loud because
where's Mando?
And I heard it in my circles. Like, where's all these characters that I see constantly? Like, I go over to Avengers Campus right across the way, by the way, as it exists in Disneyland, right? Avengers Campus is right across, and it's like I see all these characters that I recognize, and I go to Galaxy's Edge, and
there's
Finn and Rey, yay! But where's I'm sorry, Rey and Kylo, I should say, not even Finn.
Finn.
There's Kylo and Rey again, but where's everybody else? I think this is good. Go ahead, George. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, and then also on the backbone of the announcement for the Mandalorian season 3, right. So I mean that's a perfect. Harmonious blend of announcing season 3 for the Mandalorian. So they even confirmed Grogu's going to be in that as well. So then moving forward to say, okay, so we're going to continue that within Galaxy's Edge. I think that's kind of interesting to the fact of I'm now wondering if now could they possibly incorporate Batu in actually the show itself.
Maybe that was the point. Maybe that was the. Maybe there was a directive there in order to do that, in order to make this.
Maybe it does make an appearance in season 3.
Maybe it does make an appearance in season 3 for sure, because it would make a lot of sense here.
Yeah, #Expo.
Expo. Oh, jeez.
We might give a little Easter egg, guess, pay attention to next season of Mandalorian. You might see Batu. They might say something like that. True.
Yeah. Does this mean new missions for? Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run.
Yes.
Yeah. It could be attractions. Could be.
Could be. And this is really good news. This is what I love to see, because this is something that it shows that Disney, while they don't always listen to the fans, we're not going to get everything we want. This is one of those victories for fans. This is something that the fans have been craving since the land opened 3 years ago. And they heard the fans, and they adapted, and that's fantastic. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I think they wanted to be sure it was beyond just Twitter and Star Wars fans. I think they wanted to be sure the general audience or the general tourist wanted it, and then I think that became loud and clear. They wanted that too. So
right,
yeah,
and it gives hope to all the people out there that are upset over Genie Plus or reservation system. Hey, you never know. You never know that maybe, just like this happened with the characters, you never know. Maybe there's enough guest feedback where they'll change course on this other stuff too. I mean, it's all part of that. It's all part of kind of listening to what fans want and adapting, So,
and competition pressure.
You scream loud enough, you get what you want. Sorry, George, go ahead.
No, you're good. But I echo what Dre said. I think this could also be on a good, turning point as far as new attractions, expansion of the land itself, because again, with Epic Universe opening up, with Super Nintendo World coming to Universal Hollywood, Disney is going to have to kind of beckon the call to do something. And Star Wars is a heavy hitter, and it's just a fact that it kind of faltered during the opening because they couldn't do exactly what they wanted. But who's to say if really just having the characters in there alone is a good starting point for future expansion and attractions.
There is an expansion pad set aside, as actually for Disneyland. It's between Galaxy's Edge and Toontown. There's an expansion pad right there for a third attraction. So given, if this is successful, which I think it is, right? Do you instead go, well, maybe we don't theme it to necessarily the sequel trilogy. Maybe we theme it to a point where you can incorporate characters from kind of, both sides of the universe, so to speak, OG, maybe even prequel, and sequel. But this kind of Mandoverse that's constructed right here. Maybe we set it there, and we have something that everybody's really kind of craving right now. I mean, people do want Mandalorian. And they do want Grogu.
And down the road, if they were to do that third attraction, if they wanted to incorporate that kind of robotic arm or the type of technology that they were going to use for the Avengers e-ticket, that would be one kick-ass attraction to kind of separate yourself. If you're wearing a bounty hunter pack and it's like you kind of just like shoot off like on your own, you know, if they were to change the Avengers e-ticket, but you know, to something more low grade than what it was supposed to, they could always use that in the future for Galaxy's Edge.
And this changes the game for the Star Cruiser. Now that they've opened up this Pandora's box, now you can do what we talked about on this show for a long time, is have different era itineraries. So you can have a cruise based all around the prequels. You can have a cruise based all around the original trilogy or all around the Mandoverse or whatever. This opens that door now for that. I mean, this is a game changer beyond belief.
I would love to see Grogu in the floating Macy's. You know, I'd be all for it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see is if this is going to be like we're shifting the timeline, or are we just, you know, destroying the timeline altogether?
I kind of hope they destroy it because it's crippling for the Star Wars.
There are far more possibilities if they destroy it altogether than if they just shift it. But you know, we might see some interesting developments here.
I think they're destroying the timeline because I think that while these shows sort of deal with the era, like Mando and Kenobi both kind of deal in that era between the prequels and the original trilogy. But eventually we're going to get a show or a movie that's not going to fit in there. So, and they're going to want to promote those as well. Right. So I think
the Acolyte during the ending years of the High Republic, that's coming up, and rumors are who knows when Taika's movie is set. So
right. And from what I understand, Kathleen Kennedy said at Celebration that a lot of the movies will take place after the sequel trilogy. But a lot of the shows are like in this like little spot right between the prequels and the OT. So there are a lot of different eras going on. And I think Disney's going to want to capitalize on all that stuff. And it's an absolute brilliant move. This is a game changer for the land. It's a game changer for the Star Cruiser. I don't think anyone will be upset about this. This is fantastic.
No, you've got some people now that are like, oh, is the timeline done away with? And it's like, you know, what does that mean? Kind of implying that's a negative thing. And I'm like, guys,
Avengers is a hodgepodge, you know.
Exactly. So why can't Star Wars
mean anything, you know?
Yeah, let's have some fun with Star Wars again. Come on, I mean, you know, it's like we're kneecapping ourselves when we don't need to. You know, Star Wars owns the property; they can do whatever Disney owns the Star Wars property; they can do whatever they want with it, right? And let's kind of leverage that. Let's take advantage of that. People want to see their characters that they know and love, at least from the series they're watching right now. Can we do that? And I think we are, and I think it's a good thing.
Right. And the timeline thing was always weird to me because, like, you go to a land like Fantasyland, and no one's going to be like, "Oh, well, Dumbo that story was from 1894, and then Peter Pan is from 1902." That doesn't make any sense. So there's no continuity here. It's like, who cares? It's all fantasy. Put it in the land. It works.
Although you heard them be really serious about timeline or time frame with
Frontierland,
Tiana for Frontierland, so it's like you know, maybe relax with that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think if it all comes down to execution. If you can execute it well, people are more forgiving of those aspects, right? Yeah, exactly. So it's like. And Galaxy's Edge was already executed very well as a land and as a concept and as an idea, right? It's got good bones, as we've said on the show before, right? It just needs a little bit of character, and I think you can integrate those properly in a way that is consistent with the story you're trying to tell, right? But kind of gives fans and guests what they want and what they crave.
Yeah, no, 100%. Fantastic news.
I hope the droids make an appearance too. They made a lot of droids or a handful of droids for Galaxy's Edge. Hopefully those start to.
Yes.
You saw them in Imagineering behind the scenes, and they had test runs. So hopefully.
Well, and they ended up bringing R2-D2 out for the Moonlight Magic event at Hollywood Studios. So
Yeah, and R2 fits in this world very nicely. We saw like a big bantha, almost audio animatronic or puppet. I don't know how they're achieving that effect in Star Wars Celebration, but it's like, hey, like, to George's point, let's get a bantha in there. Let's kind of get this stuff in there.
Sector 2. Malfunction in Sector 2. All droids will be shut down for reloading of labor programs. Stand by for power disconnect.